So here we are at the Life Vision Seminar in Rome, and we're lucky enough to have the famous Dr. Gilles Lamarche with us, and we're going to ask him a few questions about vitalism and why it's so important. So Gilles, if you wouldn't mind us asking, why do you think that vitalism is such an important concept, or why is it chiropractic?
When I look at vitalism, I always think about the fact that the body is self-maintaining, self-regulating, self-healing.
Yep.
That's not a belief. That's not a concept. That's a principle. And principles are what? They're repeatable. Principles are facts. So the fact that we know that the body is self-healing, self-regulating, and self-maintaining, why wouldn't we want people to understand that? And so when we look at vitalism, that concept of vitalism in chiropractic, what we recognize is that when your nervous system is functioning at its best, it's when all of that is happening at its best. If your nervous system isn't functioning at its best, how could you potentially, maybe not heal, not self-regulate, not self-maintain? So the concept of vitalism, in my opinion, is an intricate part of chiropractic. It's not something that resides outside, it's something that resides inside the profession as the basic tenet, the basic principle that we live from. And we know when we look at society today, there's so many other people, other professions, starting to look at this vitalistic concept. We know it's an old concept, right? We know it's a fact, but somehow it was taken out of the normal vernacular conversation of the people. And in some aspects has never been introduced in some chiropractic schools, for example. So I spoke to a chiropractor today who graduated more than 40 years ago, and he said he discovered the concept of vitalism 20 years ago. Graduated from a very mechanistic school, and he said, I discovered it 20 years ago. He says, it changed my life. Yeah. He said, it didn't just change my practice life, it changed his life.
Yeah.
Because he finally discovered it.
Wow, obviously it's super important.
It's the pinnacle of our profession. That's why I said it's not just a concept, it's a truth. And principles are principles because they're repeatable. And so we've all experienced the body as a self-healing, self-maintaining, self-regulating mechanism. Some people just don't recognize it as part of the profession, but it is. How could it not be?
Absolutely.
How could it not be? So my goal in being involved at Life University and all the work that I've done in chiropractic for myself for 40 years, because I started chiropractic school in 1975, so we're now 2015,
40 years, wow.
was because I discovered this value in my own life and health as it relates to the vitalistic concept. And so I'll go anywhere and speak chiropractic. I'm like the guy who, where two or more will gather, I want to be there.
Hold that thought. Did you hear that? He'll go anywhere. So potentially we might be getting Gilles at our seminars at some stage in the future. You heard it from his mouth, so maybe he's coming to the IN8 Summit at some point.
I will.
The next stage is so most chiropractors you'd hope have heard of the idea, the above and into that principle. But why do you think it's so important? You've heard it before, once, twice, or three times. But why do you think it's so important for chiropractors and their students to be able to come on a regular basis to events like the Life Vision Rome, also like the IN8 Summit in Australia, Raw Chiropractic in Australia? There's quite a bit of movement happening. You might have heard it once before. I've been there, done that. But why do you think we as a profession need to do things on a regular basis to maintain our beliefs?
The analogy that pops into my head was, you know what? I once had a real good meal. Why would I not want to have a good meal again? So I know that it's important to feed my body good food on the physical level. I also know that I need to feed myself spiritually good thoughts to maintain my level of wanting to serve, my level of contribution, my level of vitalism from myself. So as a chiropractor, if you want to maintain your vitality in chiropractic, instead of living in your little tiny bubble and being all by yourself, why wouldn't you want to go and hang out with other chiropractors and continue to learn? Sometimes the learning happens in the classroom, sometimes the learning happens in the hallway.
Yeah, absolutely.
I spoke to a chiropractor, today again, 30 years in practice. Practices, I think he said northeastern Italy, in a small community, very, very successful practice. He said, what I discovered today, having not been to any event like this for a long time, he said, I need this. He said, this fed me. This was the best chiropractic meal that I've had, he said, in over a decade.
Wow.
And so he made a commitment. He says, you guys come back here, I'm coming back. And he made a commitment to get more involved in the profession. So what happens, because most offices are single practitioner offices, we live in this beautiful little bubble. Yeah. You see the number of people you want to see, whether it's 50, 100, whatever it is per day, or whatever it is per week that you want to see. But people get into this space of comfort.
Yeah.
There are not enough chiropractors in the world. There are millions upon millions of people who have never heard the word subluxation, who don't understand chiropractic. We, as individual chiropractors and as a profession, must step up. And I can tell you, the only way that you will step up is if you get fed regularly from the trough, from the above, down, inside out trough. That's what we created here at Life Roma Seminar. That's what you create in some of the events that you manage and that you host at the IN8 Summit. And when people are living in that philosophy and they're supporting that philosophy and they build links with other people who live that same philosophy, they are more prone to be able to teach it to other people. So I started going to seminars. I was a junior in chiropractic college, and I went to at least a seminar every 2 months for probably my first decade in practice. It fed me mentally, emotionally, chiropractically, got great knowledge, but most important, it created friendships.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I get to hang out with like-minded people. That feeds me. That's what feeds you, obviously.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I've got goosebumps here right now listening to this great man speak. So we are very lucky and privileged to have your kind of information and these words being expressed to us and also to the Australian audience. So thank you very much, and I really mean it. We're hoping to have you there one day. This event is getting bigger and bigger, and we're just so excited to be in its early days, but it's exciting days. So
Invite me in advance, so it fits my schedule, and I'll be there.
You got it. Thank you very much.